NDSU, North Dakota State University, and NDSU Athletic Department is excited to announce ESPN Game Day coming back to Fargo. It's not only coming back to Fargo, once again it'll be in downtown Fargo in front of the Fargo Theater. And it's going to be an exciting event, and it is going to be bigger and even better than last year. So how are we going to make that happen? Last year we had, I understand that we had about 6,000 people in Fargo, at least attending that event, other than the viewers across the nation. So this is going to be, how are we going to make it better? And that is a place where we are going to be putting a lot of plans together this coming week. With regards to this attendance, I think one of the things that we want to emphasize today is the transportation. And we are planning on providing the shuttle service, which we also provided last year. And one thing that we want to emphasize, I hope people take advantage of that. There's going to be, we want all of you to experience this game day event. So come to NDSU campus, and we will designate 2 lots for you, and they can take the shuttle from NDSU campus to downtown. There's going to be adequate shuttle service, so there's no panic for it. And you can all relax, and we want you to experience this and come and enjoy this great event. Second thing with regards to the tailgaters. And last year also we provided service. We opened the gate early, and so you can come in about 7 o'clock. And those of you who have the reserve tailgating, that will start about 7 o'clock, and for the general public about 7:30. And that's what you're hoping for. And we are all going to work very hard, and we will make this a memorable event for all the people, not only for the university and the city of Fargo, for the state of North Dakota and for the region. And wow, I'm not sure if ESPN ever went back to a place second time, or the back-to-back, that has ever happened. So this is very unique, and this is very exciting. Let me turn it over to Lieutenant Vettel.
Well, we'll start first off with some comments from Chief Ternes.
Well, as Prakash mentioned, this obviously is, again, another very exciting event, not just for the city of Fargo and NDSU, but for the immediate region. And we're very fortunate to have ESPN coming back to the city again. You know, this is an event that really showcases NDSU, and so we are prepared to do everything we can to make sure that this year's event is every bit as successful as last year's event. As Prakash mentioned, it appears as though the event will be held again in downtown Fargo, and that actually should make the planning and whatever other preparations that we need to put in place pretty seamless for us, because we plan on using virtually the same plans relative to security, traffic control, all of those things. It'll be virtually identical to what we experienced last year. I know some of you will have some more specific questions about security and parking and transportation. And so when we get to that point, please feel free to ask whatever questions you have, and we'll be happy to elaborate on that. So with that, Troy,
I'd open up to questions.
Yeah.
Chief Ternes, how much did the marathon, along with game day, alleviate any concerns about parking, security, that you guys can make this happen?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Last year, the one thing that we have going for us is that last year's event really went off without any problems whatsoever. We heard nothing but positive comments in the wake of last year's event from throughout the community. The downtown business owners were very, very happy. People who live downtown were very happy. And ESPN, the representatives from ESPN were incredibly happy with how last year's event unfolded. So yes, we not only can, but we will make this year's event, like I said, every bit as successful as last year's. But you know, the one thing that I think you'll probably hear us emphasize and re-emphasize throughout the morning and really throughout this coming week is when it comes to transportation, that if people will make use of the shuttle service, getting to and then away from downtown, that went a long way towards alleviating any congestion or other issues relative to parking and traffic. So we certainly want to encourage people to do that as much as possible. In fact, you know, last year, I think some people might have experienced that parking and traffic and those types of things were not really that big of an issue, but that's due in large part because a great majority of people that came downtown utilized the shuttle service. So we don't want anybody to be fooled by the fact that you know, bringing your own vehicle or trying to find some place to park downtown in preparation for this event, to use the shuttle service. That will get people to and from the event much quicker, and it certainly will alleviate some of the traffic congestion issues that we might have to deal with.
At what point did NDSU become aware that ESPN coming back would be a possibility?
You can take it up.
I think roughly around Thursday we started getting some of the same communication we received last year that kind of showed signs that they were thinking about coming back, and then really heated up while we were in the air to Salt Lake City. We had some communication before we left, and then once we landed it really started to get serious. So by late Friday night we had a pretty good indication that it was going to happen.
Did it hinge on a win yesterday?
Yeah, if you followed social media, obviously the tweet hinged it on a win, which made it a little bit unique, but thankfully the boys took care of business, and here we are today.
Was there any consideration given to another site like the Fargo Dome that you're aware of by ESPN?
No, ESPN, I think they made it very clear that they wanted to. They had a great experience last year in Fargo, downtown Fargo, and they wanted to go back there.
Have you guys learned anything, I guess, security-wise from what the marathon did, anything downtown, anything changes that you want to implement that you learned from last year?
No, in fact, I'll have maybe Lieutenant Vettel go into some of the details, but quite honestly, last year from a safety, from a policing standpoint, I'm not sure we could make it any better. People were incredibly cooperative. We just didn't experience any issues where we feel we need to go back and make a change. The logistics that were put together last year relative to the entire event downtown was incredibly well coordinated. So we're certainly going to basically follow that same footprint this year, and would anticipate the same result.
Yeah, I can only echo what the chief is saying. We've certainly have had the opportunity now to host some large events downtown, and specifically the marathon, and now with Game Day really returning, has given us the opportunity to kind of utilize that same blueprint. We've been very clear that we want to prepare for the worst and we hope for the best, and that philosophy has always worked for us as a department. I think citywide you're going to see a number of entities that are going to be really part of Game Day. Oftentimes it's the police department that becomes front and center for these events, but really it is a wide variety of city departments, along with that private entities from the downtown area and from the community, and really just people working together to accomplish what is probably one of the most visible events ever in the city of Fargo. And I think we come from it from a different standpoint from last year. Last year was literally a Monday morning phone call notifying us that we were going to be downtown, and it started with, oh my gosh, and by midday we were well on our way to making those plans a reality. But it was a tremendous amount of work by a number of people to make that happen. This year I think we certainly have at least the principals, people that we need to do this, and we have that list. We're going to get those people together in a room here in very short order on Monday, and by the end of the day I'm very confident that we'll be well on our way to not only having this event well within our grasp and our hands, we'll be far better off than we were last year at that time. So it is a tremendous event to have in our city. We always want to make sure we're working hand in glove with North Dakota State University. They are extremely important part of our community and always have been. We've established a wonderful working relationship with them over the years. Prakash and his team, Troy, we have worked with them on a number of projects, and ESPN is obviously the most obvious one, but certainly not. It's one of the few that we do, or one of the many that we do in the course of a year. So we have 100% confidence in that relationship moving forward, and we believe that it's going to be one tremendous event for the city of Fargo.
Are you anticipating a larger crowd than last season? Would that change some things?
I think that if you look at it rationally, I think there was a lot of people that regretted the fact that they didn't get downtown for ESPN Game Day, and so I fully believe that we'll have more people downtown for the event. And along with that, and that's why Chief Ternes and both him and Prakash mentioned that we're asking and sometimes we're pleading to tell and get people to utilize those shuttles. They're going to be extremely important in the success of this operation, and when we're trying to get that many people in that downtown area, that downtown corridor, parking is going to be a premium. I know there were some comments last year about, parking wasn't as bad as we stated earlier on, but that's because we planned for it and people listened. And there's always that risk in that sophomore year kind of event that people aren't going to listen as well as they did the previous year. And so we hope people understand it is going to be bigger, it is going to be better, and the only way we can do that is if people really follow those directions and utilize those shuttles.
We actually, last year, I know there have been some varied estimates. We think there were between 5,000 and 6,000 people there. We actually had planned last year for between 8,000 and 10,000. And so, like I said, those logistics will basically stay the same, so that if we do get between 8,000 and 10,000 people, we'll certainly be prepared.
Dr. Prakash or Troy, is ESPN and the early communication giving you anything that they'd like to see done differently? Or Joel?
They simply said they also would like to be bigger and better. I think that's where we are, taking that as not a charge from them, but at the same time that they would like to see, and we also like to see it bigger and better. Just like Chief said, we were prepared for a bigger number, and a lot of people stayed home and watched it, assuming that there's going to be a parking issue. And now we are clearly giving the message that there is going to be space, and parking, you don't have to worry about the parking. Take the shuttle and come and experience this wonderful event.
That Bison's a little bigger. Is he going to show up this year?
Yeah,
Well, we're still trying to establish a lot of the logistics. I think everybody recognized he was very popular last year and was a pivotal member of the crew last year. So I don't think we can deny that. So if we do, if they make the choice to have him down at the event this year, we'll be fully prepared to deal with that as a logistic. He is obviously twice the size as he was last year, so we're already bigger. But we'll see that, again, that's always a logistical conflict when it comes to dealing with a live animal and a large crowd. But we'll have plans in place to deal with it as we did last year.
You both said, from the police department perspective, that it went pretty smoothly last year by all accounts. Anything that you will do differently that you learned from?
I don't think so. Like I said, I think all of the feedback that we received, our own observations were that things went incredibly well. I don't think we made a single arrest. I don't think we had a single significant problem to deal with. In fact, probably one of our bigger issues was just, that short-term coordination in terms of, closing off some streets so ESPN could get their equipment in here. Trying to alleviate some of those initial concerns about what the impact for downtown might be by closing down streets for a few days. But again, from a policing standpoint, the event went incredibly well, and we just didn't have any issues. And so, as I was joking with Prakash this morning, I think it will be very easy for us to make the event bigger. But better might be a bigger challenge for us because it went so well last year.
And just, well, I was just going to state, I know many of you are going to be looking at, as far as timelines, what we're going to see as an impact across the city. As we did last year, you're going to start seeing some initial impacts with parking issues downtown as we start to block off some of those streets. You'll see that up as early as Wednesday. Thursday will be a significant move-in day for them as they prepare for some of their broadcasts that they'll be utilizing on Friday. And certainly by Friday, even early morning, you'll see a lot of activity down there with finishing of the setup and along with their broadcasts that they'll be doing down there for their events. So it will be a significant impact downtown as it was last year when it comes to parking. And that corridor, as you remember, is between 2nd Avenue and 4th Avenue. And really along that the Broadway corridor, along with several of the side streets that exist there. And you'll see a number of trucks down there. You'll see some staging, and will be very significant in that impact. The good thing is we anticipate we'll have a number of people, pedestrians down there walking, checking out what's going on as they did last year. And the businesses, I think, are extremely supportive of that event now downtown. I think there was some reluctance last year because of the unknown, but every comment that we had last year and as we build into this year is they're extremely supportive of that downtown effort.
Troy, I was going to ask, is there any hesitation or pressure that the sequel is never as good as the original?
No, not really. I think now that this is our second run at it, there's no surprises. We kind of know what to expect. So our marketing team is fast at work getting some ideas on paper, and we're confident when the crew arrives early this week. It's the same gentleman we worked with last year, and they know all the tricks of the trade. So we just work hand in hand with them to make sure that we're responsive to their needs and basically helping them put on the best show possible. And we feel we have some pretty good ideas to offer them as well. So very confident we can make it better. How much better, I think, is what we're debating right now. But we're excited. Bigger and better is what we've been kind of saying over and over again. And we've been putting in the work since early Saturday, because we obviously knew that something was going to happen. So the work's being put in a lot earlier than it was last year.
A lot of nervous people in the marketing department during the game last night?
I was asked the same question last night, and quite simply, we just wanted to win. I mean, game day was kind of obviously in the back of our mind, but we just want the Bison to come away with W's regardless of what circumstance are ahead of us. So a little bit nervous, but nothing too terrible.